Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Avengers issue 21. And this was a nice kind of palate cleanser issue, and just kind of getting into where our team members are at in the Avengers, and kind of setting up some things to come. So we see that Tony and Thor are chilling in the Avengers hot tub in Avengers Mountain, and that's pretty great. We see that Thor is just really happy that he is able to wield Mjolnir again and is picking it up and putting it down and everything. Tony's like, okay, you kind of want to chill it on that, man? It's kind of a little bit weird. And he's like, I'm alright with it. And, and they're just pretty much talking shop and well, not shop talk, but just kind of getting back into their head spaces. And he's like, hey, if I'd want anybody by my side, it'd be you, Thor. And then Thor's like, hey, if there's any mortal that I'd have by my side. And Tony just goes at it, and you'd be Steve. We'd all pick Steve. And then Thor's like, yeah. But if it were a mid-air battle, and the funny thing is, Captain comes in and like, hey, we fighting somebody? I can go get the Quinjet. And they talk Steve into putting down all of his duties for at least a moment and chilling in the hot tub, which was pretty cool because he's like, hey, we've got people and debris and everything that we got to mess with from the War of the Realms. And Tony's like, hey, Thor's doing stuff with his storms. I'm remote piloting some people, just chilling everything. And then seeing Cap come in and relax was like, yeah, that's pretty sweet. We shift over and we see that Coulson is dealing with an intruder and is using an army of Fury LMDs. So that's not creepy at all. I mean, I like that it's in the story, but I'm like, damn, that's kind of messed up. And then we find out that the intruder is the Black Panther, and he's come to confront Coulson and figure out what's going on. It's like, yeah, you did some shady shit during the War of the Realms, using your Squadron Supreme to not take out the Frost Giants, but to shepherd them across the Canadian border. And he's like, Canada's not my problem. And he's like, well, are we your problem? And he's like, well, I'm not at liberty to divulge classified information, which is pretty much saying, yeah, you're a problem. But of course, around that time, the Squadron Supreme starts coming in to kind of take handle of the situation, but we then shift over and we see some other Avengers. We see that She-Hulk is covered in Frost Giant blood and kind of trying to think about what's going on, thinking about how Avengers Mountain has become home to her. And then Blade remarks that he can smell her from pretty much a mile away with all the blood and all that. And he's got a boy thing on his back. And we see that they're kind of flirting with each other. It's like, that would be one hell of a weird pairing. And I'm now thinking of a half Hulk, quarter vampire baby. That'd be an awesome hero and an awesome villain at once. Pretty fucking terrifying, too. Yep. But she's remarking in her head, she's like, hey, you want to go get some wine? Or you want to, like, go get a drink? And he's like, nah, we usually drink alone. And that Blade is pretty much going to go and take care of the rest of the vampires. He knows that Dracula's out there somewhere, but doesn't know where. She actually offers to go and smash some vampires with him. And I kind of like, so she's thinking in her head, like, I really need to figure out something to do with that, because that still doesn't sound right. He's like, nah, I'll be going now. And then he rides off on his bike, and then the boy thing does these giant wings, and Blade just flies off and stops. Like, yeah, that's pretty sweet. We also switch, and we see that Carol and Robbie are on one of Stark's boats. Now, granted, Robbie didn't know that they were technically stealing it, but they're going around to pretty much take on Muspelheim's sharks that are still kind of going around Avengers Mountain. Like, that's interesting. That kind of sucks, but it's like, okay, how are you going to fish for this? But they get into more of a kind of character moment where Robbie lets loose that he's terrified of everything, and like his car, the monster inside him, being an Avenger and everything, and Carol kind of relates all of her kind of stuff, and how she's dealt with like her Kree mom, and how the Kree are pretty much dickweeds, and how they're going to have to deal with them at a certain point, because that's brought up later in her thoughts. But she says that you need to find something to kind of get away from that, and hers is flying. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And she's like, well, what about you? And we see Robbie is turning into the Ghost Rider and turning the boat into a Ghost Rider boat and everything, calling himself like a pirate and all that. And she's like, no, you're a damn Avenger. We get back and we see that the Squadron Supreme are trying to arrest Black Panther. But he starts bringing up interesting things about Phil Coulson because he had also accused Phil previously of being a murderer. But yeah, he's like, hey, I was doing my job. I'm like, that's what a lot of people usually say. And bringing up why the Squadron trust Phil at all. And sowing those seeds of doubt is like, why do you trust him for this? And of course, they're talking about all the propaganda that they have been mind controlled with, as we've seen in previous issues. And of course, they're trying to get Black Panther to turn himself in. But he's like, hey, why do you trust him? Ask him all these questions, and he's never going to really be able to answer them. He's like, hey, Brute, get me out of here, teleport one. And he's like, hey, when you're ready, come and talk to us. The Avengers aren't your enemy unless you force us to be. It's like, okay, we're going to have to see kind of how that goes. I like how Black Panther did that. This was a very strategic move for him. This wasn't a stupid thing of him trying to go in and swing a big dick around. Granted, there was a bit of dick swinging, yes, but his objective was to get as much information as he could out of Coulson, even though he knew that Coulson wasn't going to get into it, and to show and start the seeds of doubt for the Squadron Supreme of what's going on, and to potentially be like, hey, listen, when you need help, come to us. So it was a really cool move on his part. We then kind of end the issue of all the Avengers kind of coming, except for Black Panther, to the hot tub. We see that Robbie and Carol come in, and we have some funny dialogue in there as Robbie is just going in with his t-shirt on, and Tony's like, hey, dude with the t-shirt doesn't get a vote. As they're just kind of lounging around and everything. Seeing She-Hulk come in naked was funny as hell. Steve's looking away. Thor's like, huzzah. Tony's like, the fuck? As we see in the background, Carol is trying to like fucking shield Robbie. That was fucking hilarious. And they're all just kind of like, yeah, alright, this is pretty cool. It's a little bit chill as She-Hulk kind of says that the water's a little bit cold, and Robbie Ghost Riders up and kind of gets it all warm for everybody. We then get towards the end of the issue. We see that Black Panther is using the database at the Avengers Mountain to kind of run stuff on what would be in common with Phil Coulson and all of the Squadron Supreme of America, and to let the computer run all that stuff simultaneously, trying to find what's common. Then we get to the last page, and we see, as he's trying to figure out what's in common, that Mephisto is still in Las Vegas, well, at least in this portion. He's been popping up every so often and every other where, so the timelines are a little bit weird, but I'm glad it's tying back into the damnation part and saying that everything's kind of going to plan and that all the moves are his, as we see this kind of chessboard with all the different players of, like, the Avengers and the Squadron Supreme and everything going on. So we're like, I really like that Mephisto is being set up to be this kind of big bad at this moment, because we don't really see him done that much outside of supernatural kind of themed stories, and it's cool to see him doing all these different moves in all these different places. And we also got some kind of information about how also Steve was warned about a new Star brand, so of course seeding that into the whole mix as well. So it's like, yeah, this was nice to just get into the characters, see where their headspaces were at, and do some nice teases for what's to be coming next. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.